Okay, thank you, lady. Close then everything that I have open, except you guys, hopefully. Let's see. Yeah, I have a lot of windows open. How about now? Is it better?
Not entirely, but let's see. I'll trust it will converge to something we can hear you well in.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me know, Chris. Well, the good thing is that I'm not going to be the one really talking. I am very excited to introduce you to our speaker today, but before we do that, I would like to go over a couple of things. There is a WhatsApp group that we have formed to exchange resources, to make announcements, and just to share and get to know each other. So if you are not in that WhatsApp group yet and you want to be, send me an email or a text or a WhatsApp message, and I'll be happy to add you to that WhatsApp group. Second, I will be sharing in the chat a link to a feedback survey that I would like your help in completing, please. Next month is our 1-year anniversary of this initiative, so I'm super excited doing with initiatives. And without further ado, ICF chat that interested on. So Robin, why don't you introduce yourself and announce the topic?
Sure, happy to. Hi, everyone. Hopefully you're able to hear me loud and clear. I see some thumbs up, so thank you. I am Robin Christian. I am the current ICF Houston chapter president. Finishing up my 2nd year, and we'll be turning the reins over to Monique in January. So lots going on. I want to congratulate Elena on this group. She has been leading this group for what's coming up, as she said, as 1 year. She's done a phenomenal job and has agreed to keep it going. So we are super excited to have her continuing with this into 2025, which is crazy to say. So wonderful. Great to see you all here. I wonder before we get, so our topic today is team coaching. So this is something I added this year, and would love to share with you what I've learned and how I plan on using it in my coaching practice. But before we jump into the content, I would love to hear what brings you here today. So what is it that piqued your interest? Is it the topic? Is it the group itself? Just drop into chat so I have some ideas of, what brings you here today? What's most important for you? What are you looking to get out of this? So I'll open up the chat here so I can take a look as you think about that and put it into the chat. If anyone wants to raise their hand and come off mute, happy to do that. But yeah, I'd love to know what brings you here today. What are you looking to learn? Okay, so looking to grow the business, just the community in general, networking best practices, the engagement with the group and the topic. A new ICF member, welcome. We are happy to have you. Network with other coaches, inspiration, just starting my own coaching business, looking forward to learning as much as I can. The group, the topic, best practices. Okay, and we have, who was that? Joel is working on the ACTC. Wonderful, wonderful. Growing community. Hi, Eva. I know we met last week or 2 weeks ago. Great to see you. Looking to learn more about Team Coaches Connection. Okay, growing the business, best practice. Excellent. So yeah, thank you so much. It's really helpful for me. I'm happy to talk about anything that is useful for you. The topic today is team coaching. But as you know, I'm also been involved with ICF Houston for several years, and I'm happy to talk about answer any questions you may have related to ICF as well. So welcome today, and I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll get started. All right, hopefully you see just the slides. Any thumbs up? Okay, I see some nods going on. So we have success here. Okay, so today, a lot of people, and I know this topic has been talked about here before, a lot of people who do coaching don't just do coaching. And so they have other services that they use to engage other services. Really, it's another stream of income. And so I want to just start by kind of giving you a little background about myself, just kind of set the stage. So my background, I spent over 25 years in the corporate world, learning organizational development, talent development. I was in a variety of leadership roles over the years. So that kind of sets the platform. I worked with a lot of coaches in those roles throughout the years, and they are all external coaches. I have not worked in an organization with internal coaching. I have the perspective that coaching is best served outside the organization. And I know that's up for debate. Happy to debate it. We have some great organizations in the Houston area that are doing a really great job at it. In my experience, the issue with internal coaching, although I know it can be done well, the issue for me is confidentiality and being biased to the organization. And so I have always felt that coaching is best served externally. And again, that's based on my worldview. That's my experience. And I know that's not the same for everyone, but that was my experience within organizations. And so we always engaged external coaches. And I always really valued the work that they did with the organization in whatever capacity we brought them in. So I always knew it was something I wanted to move into. In 2019, I left the corporate world and started my own company, Core Capital Development. And it was to pursue coaching. And to be honest, I thought I am going to go work for some large companies that offer coaching. I'm going to be on their bench. I'm going to, be a contractor for them. And that was what I thought I was going to do. Well, we all know what happened after 2019. We had COVID and everything changed. It was fine for me and my company. It gave me time to get my feet on the ground, to really get things established and set up in the way that I wanted to, and then was ready to, engage with organizations. So what I quickly learned is that these big companies that offer coaching as a platform, they want experience, and I didn't have it yet. I had a lot of corporate experience. I had a lot of what I thought was great experience, but they were looking for coaching experience. And so I didn't have that. So I set out on, how do I begin this? How do I get experience when they want experience? And so that is really what kind of turned things for me in terms of, well, let's just see what I can do as my own company rather than be on someone's bench. And so that's where I started. I really started with leadership coaching, one-to-one, and I have a couple assessments that I offer organizations. And you'll see in the parentheses, I have and development. That's what I'm known for. So I'm known for leadership development, and my network knows that about me. And I have a lot of connections, a lot of relationships built and trust built around leadership development. And so while leadership development isn't what I necessarily wanted to keep doing, it was what got me in the door. And so I used that as a way to connect with organizations to, open that door. And really, a lot of work started with some leadership development, and it allowed me to do coaching. I almost always use an assessment when I coach someone. Sometimes I don't, but almost always I have one of the assessments that I offer. So that's really how I worked until 2023. At the end of 2023, I started really feeling as though working with leaders was only part of the solution for me. So working with leaders, really, I was able to work with leaders and really help them make some behavior changes that were really great for them. What I found is they kept, it's great to work independently, work outside the organization, but we were putting them back in a broken organization. And so I couldn't coach around them. I could only coach them. And so that's when I really decided I need to add this team coaching component. Because if we could impact not just the leader, but if we could also work with the team, then we're going to see just so much more of a shift. It'll be so much more effective. And so that's when I started looking into team coaching and adding it on as another option to work with organizations. So hopefully that makes sense. I added it this year. So I started the program in the end of 2023. And I also put on there, because I want everyone to think about, what else do you do besides coaching? I'm also starting mentor coaching, so I've added that this year as well. So while I'm still in the same, place I was, I've expanded my offerings a little bit over the years. But I'm still directly working with leaders, and I still focus on B2B. So I work with businesses. I don't do B2C. Okay, so that is kind of where I've come from. And now I want to jump in and, go a little deeper into team coaching. And so if you haven't come across this, if team coaching is new for you, I think this will be really helpful. This is part of, this chart here is part of the team coaching competencies document from ICF Global. So if you download that, and I can provide these links, you'll see this chart. And, a lot of times people get confused as to what it is. And I try not to get too tied up in describing it or what it is and what it isn't. But here is a good view of the differences of the different modalities of what we can offer people. So as you see, there is a first column is team building. And so that's, it's an exercise or a workshop that really helps teams get comfortable with each other. That's team building. It's normally a short time frame. It's exercises, activities, things like that. The reason we do that is for building relationships, helping people work better together. So that's the first column. I did that in corporate. I did a lot of that team building work in corporate. Team training. This is where you're actually teaching something. So it's very different than what we do as coaches. It's teaching a new skill, a model, a method, something like that. Again, they're usually short. And this is the area I said I was known for this. So I did some team, actually mine was more around leadership, but I did some of this to get in the door. So this is teaching people. There's a curriculum, there's objectives, there's concepts, there's usually testing. What's the knowledge? Are you gaining that? And so that's team training. Then we move over consulting. That's where you are using your expertise to advise or to guide people. So the team you would be learning you would be going into an organization, you would be evaluating and researching, collecting data to understand what's going on. And then you would say, based on what I have learned, here's what I recommend. That's consulting. Okay, so you're going in and you're telling them what to do. You may or may not be the person that's executing that, but the idea with the consulting is you are telling them what they need to do. You're evaluating the issue, making a recommendation on how they should move forward. So team mentoring. This is something that happens over a longer period of time. And I always think mentoring is, or describe it in a way that I've been there and I've done that. I understand your world. I understand what you do, and I can help you navigate it. So there's a little difference there with mentoring, that there's some expertise either in the field or with the company or in the team that is allowing you to share what you've learned with the team. Okay, and now we're going to move on to the next one, is facilitation. So this could look very differently. And I think when I think of facilitation, I think it could cross a lot of these. So facilitation is working with a team that you're putting things out there. So there is a bit of a guidance, but then you're putting things out there, but then you're stepping back and letting the team decide what to do with it. So there is some instruction or movement or shifting you're doing with the team, but you're letting them figure out how to do it. So you're kind of moving to the front of the team, and then you're stepping back and letting them take it. One of the things I describe when I was doing a lot of training is, you teach a concept, and then you let the group talk and think about the concept, and then you pose a question and you step back, back out of the front, the light, and let them resolve it or talk about it or solution, so that you're giving the team the power to kind of start navigating things on their own. So I think facilitation is somewhere, in my opinion, between training and coaching. It's a little bit of both. Now, when you get to just team coaching, you are really, it's the same as individual coaching, but your client is the team, not the individuals of the team. The team is the client. And so this is something that happens over time. I would say probably no shorter than 6 months would be what you would be team coaching with. So I want to pause here. I'm going to stop sharing, and I just want to make sure that we are okay in these terms. And if you have comments or questions, or it's not quite clear, let's fix that right now before we go too far, because from here I want to just go deeper into the team coaching. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands.
Robin, I have a question for you.
Sure. Hi, Rajmi.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
So I always wondered, what is the difference between group coaching and team coaching?
Yeah, great question. And we didn't cover that yet. So let me talk about that for a minute. So that when you're it really has to do with the goals. So a group are individuals. So group coaching is individual people that have something in common. A team, the thing they have in common is where they're going, what they're trying to achieve. Success for the team is all the same. So let me use an example of maybe coaches. So we can have we could do group coaching here. We could do that. And what you have in common is coaching. And so if I was doing group coaching, I would be working with you as coaches in helping you move forward. Now, let's flip over to team coaching. Team is a team. Well, let me go back. The group coaching, you would all have individual goals, right? You may have different niches, you may have different things you're trying to achieve, but what you have in common is coaching. On the other side of team coaching, we all have the same goal. We have a common purpose. So what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to coach the team as an entity. I'm not coaching the individuals. I'm coaching the team. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Robin.
Sure. Hopefully that was helpful. Okay, let's keep moving on. Let me
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the distinction between consulting and mentoring.
Okay, sure. So consulting, I would say the big difference, consulting, there's an expertise. I have an expertise in whatever the problem or challenge is. So maybe I'm going into an organization and they, like from an organizational development standpoint, maybe there's a merger. Let's just say that. Let's just say there's a merger. So I'm going in and, they have these two teams that are trying to merge together. So my expertise is, okay, unifying a team, moving them forward. So as a consultant, I would do some review, I would evaluate it, and I would say, here is what's going on. Here are the steps I believe you need to take to merge these teams so you have a common culture. Here are the things you need to look for and create. And then, here's some things. It's an engagement. It's going to be a half-day session. And then following, these are the things you're going to need to put into place to sustain this. So that would be kind of a consulting approach. Now, a team mentoring, I would say, is someone who, has been through a merge and has experienced it. And so they can say, I'm coming to help you get through this. So the teams, I'm going to help you. I've been here. I've done this. This is what I've learned. I'm going to tell you what I've learned, and then we'll check in monthly or weekly, and I'm going to see how you're doing. And I'll give you more information as we go. So the mentor, when you're a mentor, you have the expertise, you've been through it, and you've done it before, personally. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Let's go back to sharing. Okay, so we had someone who was working on their ACTC, which is the ICF credential for team coaching. And so I just want to give you a high level of what you need to do if that's of interest. So just like the other credentials, there's an education requirement for this. And it's a 60-hour team coaching program is what you have to complete. You have to do 5 team coaching engagements, and you have to document, I think, 2 of those. And then you have to have at least 5 hours of supervision. And then there's an exam. So those are the components that you need if you're interested in getting this credential. Just to share my experience, I took a course through the Center for Executive Coaching. Happy to share their details with you. It was the 60-hour course, and it actually came with 10 hours of supervision, which was perfect for me. So I got those components done. through that course, and then working on my 5 team engagements. And then all I'll need to do is sit for the exam. So that is the requirements to get your credential for ACTC. I also put on here, because I did do another education program. I did it through Berkman. It's their high performing teams. That was kind of extra, and I'll tell you how I'm using that. But really, to sit for the exam and get the credential, you just need a 60-hour course. Okay, so that is the credential piece of team coaching. So now I'm going to move into how I'm approaching it for my company. So I'm sharing with you what I would share with organizations that I am presenting this to as an option or a solution for them. So we kind of did the background information, and now we're kind of moving into, okay, how do I approach this in organizations? And so we'll walk through this and see where we are with time. I have a little exercise we can do if we have time, or we answer questions, however we want to move forward. But let me go through how I am approaching this. And one of the things I really appreciated about the course I took is this was part of what you had to do to finish. You actually had to submit what your proposal would look like, which was really great, because it really forces us to really think through, okay, how are we going to start selling this? And then you submit that at the end. So this is what I submitted and what I've been using with organizations. So the team program really has to do with high performing teams. So that's kind of the lens I'm taking this with. I mean, there's many ways to approach this, but I've worked in a lot of teams over the years, and this is something that always has been really a passion of mine, is helping teams work better together. You know, you can put a group of people together and you can call them a team and you can give them things to do, and they'll usually figure their way out and move forward. But I think that they need help to get the most out of it, to be a high performing team. I think they need some assistance, and that's kind of the approach I'm taking with the teams. So I start with a little bit about myself and the company that I've created. So just kind of giving the clients a little foundation of who we are as a company. And then I go right into my process. So I have the core process for working with teams, and we'll work through this real quickly here. So the first step is really collecting information from the organization. So where are they right now? What is the current state? What do the members of the team have going on? You know, what's their perspective? What are their strengths? So I start with gathering information on the current state and talk with the leadership about what they want. So where are they now, and where do they want to be at the end of the engagement? And then I have a couple of interview questionnaires that I do with the team individuals. So I can be set up knowing a little bit about the team before we actually get started. So I do that in that first component. So after I have time to collect that data, then I move on to getting agreement from the leadership on how, or leadership or sponsor, whatever we want to call it, on, you know, what exactly is this going to look like? What are the deliverables going to be for me at the end? What do I need from them? What does the time milestones look like? And how are we going to communicate in between? And so that's the second phase. And then the results phase is actually where we're doing the coaching. And so the program I've put together is 6 months. So we get started. We have, we kick it off with an 8-hour program, workshop program. So it is not coaching. The first 8 hours is a workshop. It can be one full day or 2 half days. And this is where I use the Berkman high performing teams. It's a workshop, and it incorporates, well, I'll skip that. I'm going to come back to that in a second. In addition to that, once we get that workshop complete, then we do monthly 2-hour team coaching sessions. And we also do monthly 1-hour individual coaching sessions. So each member of the team has one monthly 1-hour coaching session. And then at the end of the engagement, we do a post survey. So we go back, we collect data again from the team to see where they're at. We look at where we were at the current state and where we are at the end of the 6 months. And then we also worked with them to create a plan to move forward. I think one of the big things is, how do they sustain what they've achieved? And that's what that plan is about. What to keep working on and looking forward as you're moving forward out without the coaching. So real quick, collecting the information of the current state. This is what I mentioned. We do some interviews, we have some survey questions, and we really gather information to find out what the current state of the team is. We also involves a discussion with a sponsor or key leader, so that we can really have a good picture of what the current state is. Then in the second one, the phase is where we outline, what does this actually look like? What does success look like? What specifically do we want the team to achieve, or what do we want them to look like when they come out of this in 6 months? What are the specifics that we're going to give the company or the sponsor? So this is where I kind of stopped myself, and I said, I'm going to stop here and I'll come back to it. So let's pause here and really kind of talk about what is happening during 6 months. That's what the piece is. So somebody's got some background. I don't know if you want to just hit your mute. It would be excellent.
Sorry, I just muted everybody.
It sounds like Siri or somebody's taking over. Okay, so getting results. This is the 6 months. This is what is happening in the 6 months. So we start with the high performing team workshop, either 2 4-hour sessions or an 8-hour day. We are defining purpose for the team in that workshop. We are getting clarity on every role and responsibility of every person on that team. And we are creating psychological safety, specifically what it looks like in action for the team members. So that to me is like key to get that right for the team. We do Berkman assessments, and so we look at it from a team perspective. We look at what the behaviors of each team member are at a team level. We look at their needs and their interests. And that is what we cover in that 8-hour session. And then from there, we start a rotation of monthly individual coaching sessions and monthly team coaching sessions. And we do that for 6 months. So at the end, just like at the beginning, we're collecting the data again to find out, where were we, where are we now, and how does that compare against where we said we wanted to be. And so we're gathering the learnings and the gaps and the growth, and we're talking about that. And then we're also creating a sustainability plan. So if there's any areas we didn't actually meet or things that need to continue to be monitored, we're giving that to them as a sustainability plan to move forward. So the goal always is to set the team up so that they can be independent. That's our goal in this team coaching. Okay, so that is going to stop sharing and check in. As I mentioned, that is how I work with clients in this area. So as I'm working with corporate teams, this is the approach that I take. So I have an activity, like I said, and we're happy to do that. But I want to pause and see what questions you have. If there's things I haven't talked about that would be helpful. So let's pause and see what's coming up for you now.
Robin, there's several questions. This is so informative and very practical for us to use. Do you do this virtually or on site or both?
Yes, I can do it either. My preference would be to do the workshop in person, and then I would feel fine doing that in person. I would feel fine with doing the coaching sessions virtually. I do think that and this is kind of a personal thing for me. It's important for me to get to know people individually. And so I want to build that trust and that respect. And I like to do that in person. So yeah, it would be a combo for me. There's no reason you couldn't do this whole thing virtual. There's no reason. You absolutely could, but it would not be my preference.
And how many people do you do this team coaching for? The groups are what size usually, Robin? Do you have a max?
That's a great question. And ICF actually does have a max. And so the rule for ICF is 15. So you have to have 2 coaches if you have 15. So I mean, it's really preference. For me, an ideal team size is 10 to 12. But if you have 15, you have to have 2 coaches from ICF perspective.
Okay, and do you have a team that helps you? How do you get that extra coach? Is that part of your team?
Yes. So whenever I have a lot of coach partners, and they are all from ICF. So I use my peers at ICF whenever I need assistance, whether that be if I have an engagement that has too many individual coaching sessions that I can't handle, I need to bring people on. I do that through my peers at ICF. And the same thing with the team coaching. I would reach out to my peers in ICF Houston that have the team coaching as well.
And how do you partner with internal L&D teams? Do you do a train-the-trainer to keep it sustainable due to growth and turnover?
So I am very sensitive to organizations' L&D teams because I worked in them, and I know that in my experience, they don't typically like people going rogue within their company that aren't tightly connected. I've seen more consultants and coaches escorted out of organizations because of that. So I'm very, very sensitive to that. And I always work with the L&D team. And I require, if they don't know, if they aren't the people that bring me in, I require them to talk to them first before they bring me in. So I don't train the L&D teams. These are usually things that the L&D teams don't want to do or don't have the expertise or time to do. So they're looking for an external person to help them.
Thank you, Robin. We have 20 minutes, so not sure how you want to do next, your exercise or finish the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see here. Let's just do that. Well, how many people do we have?
We have 27, including you and me.
Okay. So let me share this. I'm going to give you a little, I'm going to give you a scenario. Okay, here's the scenario. I'm going to read this, so don't worry about it. And I think because of we didn't really talk about this ahead of time, we'll just throw it out to the whole group. And what I'd like to hear from you is, if this was your client, what would you do? How would you approach this? Okay, so here's the scenario. A company has engaged you, and it's a company of about 5,000 employees. This is a leadership team within that company. They have engaged you. The company itself has a new CEO. There has been significant organizational changes as a result of the new CEO. And there have been high-profile challenges. So there has been mishaps in the company that have been very visible within the company. So this is all causing a lot of change. With the new CEO, as typically happens, there is a shift in kind of the direction of the company, or who the company is. So they're slight shifts, nothing major. And so what they want this team to come out of a team coaching program with is they want the leaders of this team to be steady in handling change. So not just themselves, but leading their teams through change. They want the leaders to empower their employees. They are looking for tools to help them lead through change. And then they also don't want, so that's kind of survival, right? There's a lot going on in this company. And so they need to get through it. They want to be steady, and they want to get through this change and these changes that are happening. They want to be resilient through those. But they also don't want to forget that their employees need growth and development too. So we can't just worry and be focused on change. We have to keep people growing and developing as well. So I shared with you kind of my approach to team coaching. I would love to hear, if you got this gig, how would you structure it? What would you do? How would you set it up? What are some of the things you would focus on? So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to give you just a couple minutes to kind of think through, what are some of the key things? What comes up for you in terms of how you might approach this if you were to be able to take this on as a team coaching program? So I'm seeing some comments come up. I would love for someone to raise their hand, be brave and unmute. Even if it's just if you don't have the full answer, what are your thoughts? I see Joel first, and then I see Mike. So let's start with Joel, and then we'll jump to Mike.
So this is a kind of a comment and a question at the same time. I'm wondering if it would be valuable in this situation to do like some surveys, some kind of survey or some kind of additional data collection to just kind of make it safer for people to share where they are psychologically around all this, as a means to then include that information in whatever kind of a plan you come up with for the engagement in terms of goal setting.
Okay, so it sounds like collect some data through some surveys or interviews before you decide how to move forward.
Yes.
And from that information, build your program. Okay, yeah, great.
Well, that's a question. I mean, is this something that team coaches will do as part of their engagements?
Yeah, so the only thing that would be problematic with that, I mean, usually a company wants, you have to give them a proposal and say, this is what I'm going to do, this is how much it's going to cost, and this is what time it's going to take. It'd be hard you would have to do the surveying on your own time, I guess, maybe, if you want to do that before you create a proposal. But yeah, I think from my perspective, I do that in the first phase. And I tell them, this is part of what you're paying for. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Mike.
And this is really good, Robin. Appreciate the challenge here. I mean, I think in I sit back and think about it, the company is really going through a series of almost crises here, right? With the challenge in media, et cetera, the accidents or whatever it was. And then this is a key moment for the new CEO to make his or her mark, right? So I think that the stakes are high, right? So I think that one challenge that the CEO, and particularly if I was one-on-one with the CEO, I'd say to her, listen, this is your moment to find a common purpose, right? So to create, you get the group of people, maybe you've been at the firm, maybe you haven't, but how can you effectively find that common purpose quickly? And that might be a good way to, a good objective for this team coaching effort, really try to solidify that, not even thinking so much about the day-to-day, putting out the fire, et cetera. And I like the way you had the leaders can maintain steadiness and drive teams through change. I mean, it's almost like, I want to do two things at once. And so that's a challenging piece. So in my view, this all goes into the sales pitch, right? Creating the urgency. Good stuff.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. Rashmi?
Thanks, Robin, for sharing all this good information. It's so useful to us. So just because of my positive intelligence background and the training I've done, I'd probably maybe start with, just giving out the assessment, the Saboteur's assessment as an offering, and then possibly giving a keynote on, especially because the scenario described involved a lot of resilience building, and that's kind of at the core of the PQ mental fitness model. So I'd probably give this keynote presentation for the team, and then look at ways to develop the individuals through the PQ program, and then go on to the 4 pillars of effective teams under PQ, which talks about mutual trust and accountability and all those things, and take the team through that program. Okay. I would love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that is a great approach. So when you think about approaching it that way, I'm kind of hearing a little bit of either team training or team facilitation up front around the saboteurs. So you do the assessment, and then you kind of set the groundwork for them. You give them some tools up front that they'll be able to use, and they'll have the common language with each other throughout the coaching, whatever that may look like. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense to have kind of that set up front, to give them some things that will be very useful for them in building awareness and common, vocabulary to use with each other, and even maybe have a little fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I do feel the power of building or helping people work on themselves first, and then to progress as a team with that transparency and trust.
Yeah, and I think key with all of this is what you just said, creating that trust. I mean, that is so important in times like this, is to be able to create that trust as a team to get through it together. Anyone else? Chris, did you come off mute?
Yes, thank you for noticing. I would coach the CEO and engage him and understand his vision, his perceived opportunities, challenges, blockers, and then ask him what his plan is to engage to navigate and negotiate the change with the team, and then understand where I could then potentially offer moments where I can support in terms of team coaching, so that I really empower the CEO and I'm not the expert. I'm the coach that partners with him and or the team.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's great. Start with the CEO, kind of connect and understand where that's coming from, and then bring the whole team in, really. And this is what's so fun for me. I mean, this is why this is like such a great combination. It's not just working with one individual. It's okay, let's impact this whole team. And whether it be individually, as Rashmi, kind of described at the beginning, and then moving towards the team, or starting with the top and then working out. I don't know that there's a perfect or one way to do it, but I think there's so much opportunity here.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead, Brian. And then
I was
Kelly.
wondering, I have two questions actually. So I was wondering, my first question, I'm wondering because in my work with organizations, they can be in a lot of different places and the politics can get complex of what's going on. I wonder, how much would you explicitly add team building in as a part of your team coaching contract with this organization?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is, depending on who brought you in, you definitely want to engage the CEO directly, but also would you want to include maybe board members at some point, or have a separate maybe team coaching for them, and or even some of their customers or constituents, depending on the type of organization?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's start with the board. So your second kind of question, would you bring the board in? I think in terms of that, it would depend on the organization. It would depend on how involved the board is. Now, I do work with nonprofits, and I think in the nonprofit world, their boards are pretty connected with the organization. And so if there is a connection there, I would say yes, I would bring the board in if there's a way to help, if that would be helpful. And then
that's my primary experience, so that's why I came through.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me from that perspective. From a large 5,000 employee company, I don't know that would be feasible, but it just depends on the company. Yeah. And then what was the first part of the question?
How much would you be explicit about maybe
Team building.
Team building as a part of this work?
So in my opinion, this is a pretty serious state that they're in. And my approach to team building would be that Berkman Day. I have a hard time. A lot of times when I think of team building, I think of something fun, like let's go to Top Golf, or let's play a game. Let's connect outside of work. I wouldn't start there with this team. I would try to build some foundation with the Berkman, helping people understand their needs, their interests, their, different things about themselves. Mm-hmm. But, maybe 3 months in, we might do a team building, or maybe at the end we do a team building. It wouldn't be the first place I go in this one. They have too much to do and too much on their plate. So right. I think there's a place for team building, or, I may find moments. I may find 5 minutes at the end of a meeting to do some of that kind of stuff. Because I do think there's value, and I think it's important, but there's other things I think are more important in this case.
And Robin, maybe to build on that, Brian, what would be the suggested outcome you want to achieve through the team building? And is that outcome achieved through the team coaching itself? Because team building could be to celebrate, it could be to build cohesion.
That's a good question. I think the reason why it came up for me, because it seems like there's a lot of new individuals in the organization. So maybe more explicitly getting at some of the cohesiveness. But I like the way that you framed it, Robin, which is it has a place, but maybe not at the beginning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, hope to answer your question, Chris.
Thanks. Kelly, I see your hand up. I think you're
in the wrong place. Okay. No, I was just thinking about when you were talking about the process and steps. I worked for 15 years at MD Anderson, which has about 20,000 employees, or at least it did when I was there. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that they did every year was something that they called the Big Survey. And it was basically surveying employee engagement.
Yes.
And it was really something that they used. One of the things that came out of it, and this is just an example, this has nothing to do necessarily with the situation that we're facing, but one of the things they found out was that employees didn't know how to navigate their career. They knew how to do their job, but they wanted to stay at MD Anderson forever, but they didn't want to stay doing the same thing. But, you know, in a lot of organizations, it feels like you're cheating on somebody if you're leaving or moving departments or something like that. And so they started a really, really strong mentorship program to the tune of about 1,000 mentors, and like within a year or two. And then they had a mentorship day every year. And then they had what we called speed dating, was the opportunity to meet with mentors for 20 minutes each. Anyway, it was a really good program. And so I'm thinking in this scenario that the value of the survey should not be discounted, because it allows that anonymity for people to really tell you how they feel, without you necessarily knowing who exactly they are, or, you know, there's not that, I guess maybe intimidation factor.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if there's data available, like the employee engagement survey, ask to look at it. Absolutely. Because if the data is already there, it's so useful. And I think Sherry might have said that in the chat also earlier, that, yeah, if it's a great question just to ask is, or when was the last time that you did an engagement survey, and what does that look like? Because there's some great information available in there as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I saw a question on here. Did you develop your own assessments? No, I use Berkman. I use ELI, which is Energy Leadership. I got that through my coaching program, and I use DISC. Those are the three. There's a gazillion of them, and I don't think you need them all. You just need a couple, because they're pretty much all based on the same foundation. But I would also say within this group, there are people that are certified in so many. If you have questions about them, ask. I know Rashmi is, she does the saboteurs. I think, you know, there's a lot of different assessments and experts here. So ask around. I think you need one or two. That's my general feeling. Do you need a team coaching certification to do team coaching? No, you don't. And you probably, you know, you may do it anyways, and you may not even realize it. If you start working at the team, you may be doing some team coaching and you don't even realize it. Okay, we are right at time. Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
I am interested in team coaching, but I don't have experience. And I've been wondering, and I think I brought this up in a prior Launchpad, but I don't remember the answer, or we didn't get an answer, is I would like to either facilitate or just observe team coaching so that I can get my feet wet, like to understand and, you know, witness the process. Is there some way that we could align with people within maybe our ICF chapter to do that?
The thing that I am cautious with that about, I get it, it makes sense, it would be great. But when you are dealing with a team, there are so many emotions and tensions and confidentiality and trust that you need to build. I'm not sure it would be conducive to have someone view it, which I know makes it very difficult. Yeah, but just to be a fly on the wall, I think that would cause people caution from a trust perspective. Why?
No, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But if you had a role, then it would be different.
That's right. Yes, if there was a role available. Yeah.
So how could we figure that out? Like how to actually get that type of opportunity?
I don't know that I have the answer for that. Happy to talk about it and brainstorm if there's something that comes up. Yeah, again, my caution would be, how can you accomplish that without, you know, doing a disservice to the team, because they're the customer, they're a client, and that's what's most important. But yeah, Kelly, I'm happy to chat with you about that if you want.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, it's 101. Thank you so much, Robin. We've learned so much from you today. This was a great topic. Thank you, everyone that stayed until the end. We'll send the recording out. Please do not forget to fill out the survey to help us improve. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. This
Have
was
a great
great.
day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good day.